to Michelle's Inspiration Hour. And I just hope that each episode gives you a little bit of daily inspiration. All right, I am so honored to have our next guest on the show. Jimmy Clare is a motivational speaker, autism advocate, author, and founder of Crazy Fitness Guy podcast. Jimmy was born on October the 9th in Millburn, New Jersey. After his birth, doctors told Jimmy's parents that he would not be able to walk without braces. He was also bullied in school and lives with spinal stenosis every day. Jimmy is an inspiration. He just keeps proving people wrong with his persistence time after time. Now, he is no ordinary speaker. He was diagnosed with nonverbal learning disorder, also known as autism, and that is what he considers to be his unique advantage. On April 12th, 2020, Jimmy also started his own podcast, which I absolutely love, called Crazy Fitness Guy, Healthy Living Podcast. His mission is to help people on the autism spectrum to live healthier lifestyles. There is no one size fits all when it comes to healthy living. And I know that everybody probably knows somebody who has been diagnosed under the autism spectrum disorder. So I am so excited to bring him on. Let's do so. Hello. How are you, my dear?
Good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Again, I am so honored that you have been on the show. And how many podcasts have you been on now? Were you saying?
Today would be 165.
See, and I am excited to be one of those shows that you have decided to be on. So I am very honored.
Hey, I'm always honored when somebody has me on their shows.
Yeah.
It gives me a break from my day from editing podcasts and everything else I do, especially because having to go back and be taken out intro and outro, it just kind of gets boring after a while. And it's like, am I done yet? No. I'm not even at the halfway point yet. And I'm like,
yes.
halfway point of being gone insane, but
I think everybody who does podcasts can completely understand what you're talking about because there is a lot of editing, and it's too bad. And I have to do my own as well. And I worship the people that are able to do, have people do their own editing for their podcast. So let's go ahead, since we're talking about it, let's go ahead and I'm going to bring up the picture. And I guess so that everybody can see it, I'm going to remove that, but it's Crazy Fitness Guy, Healthy Living Podcast. Now, with your show, do you come on once a week or do you come on twice a week, or how often do you come on?
So it's a monthly podcast, but I also have a live stream that goes along with it that happens every week. Though I admit that it did not happen last week due to a guest that didn't show up.
Oh, right.
And then but I've only had 7 people out of 144 shows who didn't show up, so I'll take the ratio, but I'm trying to minimize the no shows, but it basically happens every week. It goes out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, LinkedIn. There's a platform called Blast Radio and Wisdom. And it's like on 12 different platforms. It goes across my profiles, Crazy Fitness Guys, etc. And it's I went to the live streaming because when I was recording everything on Zoom, it was before the pandemic. And so I was like, okay, I can get used to this. But then when everything went online during the pandemic, I was like, okay, I cannot do any more Zoom recordings. I was like, I will officially go nuts. And it's like, or I will quit. And so even though it's extra work for me to do the live streams, I like the live streams because it's not edited. It's like, if it doesn't mess up, oh well. And it's like, that's why it's called live.
I love it. And, you know, it reminds me when you say that, it reminds me what in the 50s, whenever a lot of times they would do live shows or even Saturday Night Live, you know, when they goof up, you know, it's like it's live and you have, you know, you make mistakes, but that's what makes it very authentic. And so, thank you so much. I think that's a great idea that you have to go live on your podcast. Now, if somebody watches it, what are you talking about? What is the main purpose of your podcast?
So basically, the main purpose of it is to, like, yeah, I want to educate people on and off the autism spectrum to live healthier lives, but I
Mhm.
also want them to embrace their differences, even if they're struggling. It could be autism, it could be um, cerebral palsy or some other stuff. I'm not going to list all the stuff
Yeah,
because it will just we'll be here for like years and years and years and years.
right.
But uh, I want people to look at their challenges as unique gifts. I know sometimes it's easier said than done. Like the days when my neck is extra stiff because of the spinal stenosis. If I slept on it wrong, it
Mhm.
gets very old, and I can totally relate to it. But then there's other days it's like, well, I'd rather be unique than be like everyone else, and
Oh,
we all be like a bunch of stormtroopers from Star Wars, and
yeah,
we all look alike, dress alike, and
that's
yeah,
true.
I don't want that.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
but then uh, but I had motivational speakers on, autism advocates. I had nutritionists, dietitians. Anybody with a unique story is always welcome on the show, and it doesn't have to just. I had some a lot of them run their own business. A lot of them
Mhm.
does not run their own business, but you know, anybody who has a unique story is welcome. It's uh, there's no judgment on the shows. Uh, the only topics we do not cover is money. Okay, I
Mhm.
admit there was one show on my podcast that was a mastermind for two of my colleagues and friends that were talking about promoting the event about making more money, but we don't typically do that. It was just that I wanted a favor from them, so I was doing them a favor.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a win-win for both of us.
Right.
But typically we don't talk about money, sex, politics, religion, or any of that sort of stuff because you know we hear it in the news every single day. I don't give a crap about the news.
Right.
I don't even
Right.
watch the news. Anytime when my parents watch the news, I'm like, I'm going upstairs, and it's like, oh, you don't want to join us? It's like, no.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't need to know the news. And it's like, I don't care. Call me living under a rock. I don't really care. It's the same thing over and over again. Blah, blah, blah. This
Yeah.
party does this. Blah, blah, blah. I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
I was like, well,
I
everybody
think
else is giving
yeah.
a crap. I'm going to go do something different and make the world a better
Right.
place. And blah, 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 blah.
I think a lot of us feel the exact same way. But I do have a question about your podcast as well. What
Yeah.
is one thing that you have learned from a guest or one of your favorite guests that you have had on? Who would that be and what did you learn from them?
Oh, gee, you might as well just ask me what's my favorite ice cream flavor. uh, I'm going to be. How about I'm gonna spin that question. I'm gonna say, how about one of my favorite podcast episodes was my uh, even though I never met him in person, but
Mhm.
I've had him on my show twice. He was one of my very first Twitter followers when I was. I mean, I'm technically still a nobody, but my show's gotten a lot of traction in the last few years. But he's been on my show. His name is Luke Murphy, and he's an author. Uh, I feel like he would be literally. I like to call him the young James Patterson because he makes all these twists, turns, and makes you want leaving uh, you wanting more and everything.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
after reading his latest book, I was like, I really want him back on the show, and asked him, "Is like, are you coming up with another one?" He's like, and, but I had him on twice. He's always a fun guest to have on. I've been with him twice. But he's an inspiration to me.
Mm.
He has like 4 or 5 books now, and I
Wow.
read all 5 of his books. And uh, he's 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 a he's he's a full time teacher, but he writes because he likes to write. And uh, but I'm always reading his books because I really enjoy it. But yeah, he's me and him always has fun on the show, and at least I have fun on the show.
Oh, well,
And
good. Yeah.
but he gets uh, he's truly an inspiration. And even though haven't written my own book, I've been a co-author of a co-author book before. But uh, I'm hope I'm hoping one day to write my own book. And he's giving me some tips and tricks, pointers here and there. And I was
Mhm.
like, "How do you do it?" And he's like, "You just gotta have the time." And it's like, and the focus. And it's like,
Mm.
"Can you give me some extra time?"
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, when you said that you're a nobody, to me, you're very inspirational with everything that you have gone through. You just keep plugging along. And so that is an inspiration to many, many people. So what helped you, being under the autism spectrum when you were younger? So, what really helped you move forward? Was there a type of therapy, or was it a person, or who was it that really got you going and helping you in this journey?
I basically think it's not just one person.
Yeah.
It's my friends, my family, my extended family. No one ever treated me differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
They never used the word autism around me. And
Hmm.
if they ever used the word autism, it was when I was out of the room, out of the house,
Right.
uh, somewhere I can't hear it or wasn't paying attention. I
Hmm.
was caught up in my own stuff. It was never an earshot or anything. How I found out that I was autistic was when I was invited to my own IEP meetings, which stands for
Hmm.
Individual Educational Plan. And I didn't know at the time what autism was, even that time, but I knew something made me different and unique. But I swear that it was the biggest waste of time when I uh, was at the was invited to my own IEP meeting because I was told not to speak in my own meeting. And
Mm.
I even asked my case manager, and it's like, "This is a meeting about me, right?" She's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah." And it's like, "But you're not allowed to talk because all these administrators, and they like to, they know best." And it's like, "Yeah, they know best." And it's like, and that's why they still can't figure me out. And
Yeah.
uh, it got me to a point where, uh, and during the meeting, I was so annoyed because I had art class, and
Mhm.
and it's like, you guys take me out of art class. And it's like, and you guys, and over the years, and I've been in the same school district, and technically still in my school district. I mean, even though I'm graduated and everything,
Yeah.
but uh, I feel like I'm kind of like sucked in every single time. It's like trying to leave, and it keeps sucking me back in.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but basically but basically I was so annoyed at that I missed art class. I made it
Mm.
well known to my case manager, and I think I hounded my case manager over and over again. It's like, "Thanks for making me miss art class." And it's like,
Mhm.
"Make me miss gym." And I know I work out and everything now, but back
Right.
then I was still heavy and chunky and everything else around the middle. So I wasn't really into working out back then. So
Mhm.
it's like, pull me out of gym class. And it's like, if it's something I can't do, like football or something because of my neck issue, and it's like, take me out, of gym class, take me out,
Mhm.
do something else.
Right.
But it was just, it, it really pissed me off. And finally, after all my complaints, my case manager invited me back to my IEP meeting in 12th grade. And I and this time everybody wanted to hear what I had to say. But
Mhm.
during the 11th grade IEP meeting, I was literally I was at the head of the table. It was like this long conference room table,
Mhm.
and all I just saw was two parties arguing. This is better for Jimmy. 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 I'm like, I feel like I'm watching a political debate that just gone horribly wrong. And it's like,
Oh.
can we at least have some name calling in here to make it more fun?
Mhm.
And it's like, but I'm like sitting here like, this is absolutely a waste of time. Can I wake me up when it's over?
Yes. And you make a very good point because there are a lot of parents that are listeners to my channel and and they know, somebody not only do children that are under the autism spectrum have IEP meetings, but under special ed umbrella, there's a lot of disabilities. So you make up a very good point that once a child or student is able to go to their own IEP meetings, they need to be heard. And it sounds like you were not heard at all until right before graduation. But you make a very good point of, I'm seeing a debate. It's almost like I don't know what they're debating about. It's not about me. And a lot of times you're right. You know what I'm saying? It's almost they feel like they have their best interest, but they may not. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
And plus, like my parents always fought for what would be in my best interest, and I
Hmm.
appreciate that.
Hmm.
But but then like, oh, I have so many different ideas and whatnot, and it's like, but who would know best than other than me?
Right.
No one. And it's
Right.
like, I always think this is helpful. And it's like, worst case, if something didn't work out, we can always have another meeting later on.
Right.
And it's like, it's called trial and error, damn it. And it's like, how about we try this? But my school was like, nah, that's our way or the highway. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's not going to fly anymore. And
Right.
it's like, I'm going to be the most biggest pain in the butt to you guys ever.
Yeah. No, but you know what? You're making a good point, and I think that shows who you are and how you have made it, and made your own life yours. And I just commend you for that because, you're going, hell no, I'm going to go ahead and create my own life. And that's because and then you made this podcast, and a podcast really helps you voice your opinion. It voices to who you are and your unique self. And I think I just commend you for that. So do you have any advice that you can tell somebody in your position, as a kid, not a parent now, but from a kid point of view, what would you tell them?
Well, I'm still not a parent,
Uh,
but from my point of view, is basically never give up hope. Always uh, don't treat someone who's on the autism spectrum. Don't treat them like, oh, I need to do this for this person. I need to treat them
mhm,
differently. It's like if you joke around with your in your family, keep joking around with them. It's like they might not understand sense of humor right away, but
mhm,
my dad, he has a big sense of humor that rubbed off on me, and and some people don't like my sense of humor, but I was like, well, you're not going to change me, so.
mm,
and and basically the sense of humor kind of helped me get through all the garbage that I went through with my school
mhm,
district. And I've only stayed in touch with a select few people in my uh, who never treated me differently. But other than that, I've never I went back to my 10th year high school reunion last year, and it
Wow.
was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life.
Yeah.
Only 4 people talked to me out of like 70 plus people, and
Mhm.
I'm like,
Mhm.
boy, I didn't miss any of you guys. And like the two
Yeah.
people that were with me were friends, and one other was like a colleague, etc. And but no one had name tags, so I was like, the face looks familiar, but I don't
Mhm.
recall his name. And it's like, oh well,
Right.
I don't. And it's like they didn't really care for me in any of in my school districts. So why should I give a crap about anybody else?
Yeah, right, right, right. Well, and you know what, too, Jimmy? I think what it also shows is you have moved on, which is a fantastic thing. And moving on. And so, okay, so now I want to ask you, so where are you going to see yourself from here on out? What are you really looking at? Where your passion? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I see myself speaking on big stages all over the world, selling out concerts and, well, I wouldn't say concerts, but I've been selling out shows and everything. Uh, I see myself. I was just on a concert or on the beach 2 weekends ago, and uh, I even said to my mom, we were just there, just the two of us. I mean, my brother and my dad joined us on 2 other nights.
Mhm.
It was it's basically a 4-day concert, so it was a lot of standing. So no, so some other people didn't want to stand all 4 days. I did, but
Yeah.
uh, but I said to my mom, I was like, is it weird that I can picture myself being on one of these stages in front of this
Oh,
huge big crowd? And she's like, no, that's part. I was like, because you have the picture in your head, you know what you
mhm.
want, and that you just need to find the steps and put the puzzle pieces together to get there.
Right.
And and uh, and so that's where I see myself in 5 years. I also see myself uh, having my podcast be well known, keep being
Mhm.
listened to, and and funny thing you mentioned, my podcast uh, has reached some of the top lists in the world, uh, uh, 3 lists to be exact, and I was like, well. That's awesome. One of them happened to be the old uh, the old podcast logo and stuff. I switched multiple hosting providers over the years, and
Mhm.
the service picked up the wrong one. And it's like, I'm still
Oh,
counting it. I was like, they got the name right, just not the right feed or the right logo or anything. But
right.
other than that, it's like, it's still a win. Screw it, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And but so that's where and I can also see myself. Uh, Probably winning a couple of podcast awards, etc.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and and it sounds like as many podcaster you are on as well and making your own, that's actually going to is a stepping stone, is that puzzle piece that you need to be on the stage.
Yeah, well, one of the things I want to go to this event that one of my colleagues is hosting. Uh, well, no, he's not hosting, but he's going to be speaking at someone else, one of his colleagues is speaking at it. I mean, is hosting it, and it happens to be in Chicago with where a lot of
Yeah.
my extended family is.
Yeah.
And I was already in Chicago, uh, in at the very end of May, beginning June, speaking at my aunt's school, and I was. And what's funny though, uh, talking about all the small pieces to put together, the event that I want to go to, they have 30 plus keynote speakers,
Oh, wow.
and there's going to be networking and whatnot. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm all hell. I was like, I'm gonna go into. I was like, I want to network. I want to be on these people's radar. I want people to
Right.
know who Crazy Fitness Guy is. And it's like, if I can be in the room with all these 30 plus keynote speakers, and it's like
Hmm.
only takes one person
That's right.
to. And it's
Hmm.
like I could be on many different stages, perhaps. And it's like I'm not gonna guarantee it because you can't
Yeah.
guarantee anything. But
Yeah.
uh,
And that, and that's a great attitude to take. Well, and you know what, Jimmy, I wish you much, much luck. And I know that you're going to fight for it. So, and like your mom said, you visualize it, you're going to work towards that goal. And I know that you're going to reach that. So, would you like the last question of the podcast?
sure.
All right, so I'm going to bring on the famous wheel. I need
Da, da, da,
I
da.
need to kind of like make it a name or something. Inspiration hour wheel, I guess you could say. All right, so we're going to go ahead and spin it and see what your last question is. Oh, okay. All right, so Jimmy, if you had a chance, you had a time machine. Let's imagine if you had a time machine and you could go back in time, what time would you choose? What decade would you choose and why?
I would go back to. Uh, I would go back to. Um, Honestly, I would go back to when I was a kid, growing up with my cousins. We were all going uh, to my one of my favorite uh, the favorite lake house in the family.
Mhm.
We played a lot of Monopoly. We played a lot of other games, and uh, I, I was. It was always fun playing Monopoly, and the reason I like Monopoly so much is because my uh, I was years ago when we were playing a lot of Monopoly, we noticed that one of my cousins he he was always the banker and everything, and and, and he had somehow when we left the game and everything, we come back and we saw that he has all these stack of 100s and 500s. And he's like, how did you get all of that? And he's like, oh, you guys gave it to me and everything. Well, finally, years later, he admitted that he cheated. And I was like, I had a suspicious feeling that you did, but I was like, but I didn't have any evidence. But it's like,
Right.
damn it. And it's like, so that's how you won all the time. And he's like,
Mhm.
yeah. And it's like, how did you not figure that out? And it's like, well, like I said, I had a hunch, but I couldn't get, but then if I called you out, you was like, you have no proof. So, uh, but it was fun times because we got to stay up with that hunter. We were up there for like maybe like a few months, uh, and we always did stuff. We sometimes had dessert for breakfast. We did s'mores in the backyard in this
Mm.
huge big bonfire pit.
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
but this is like, believe it or not, this was like before like cell phones even existed.
Hmm. And you know what? I'd go right with you, and maybe you can, get your uncle not to cheat on Monopoly this time. You could say, "I saw you
That
cheating."
was my cousin who cheated on
Oh, your
Monopoly.
cousin. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
he,
Your cousin. Okay.
yeah, he
Gotcha.
cheated on Monopoly, but now I kid with him every single time. It's like we gotta play Monopoly. It's like, and it's like, yeah, you're just not gonna be the banker. No one expects the banker.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Well, that sounds wonderful, and I thank you so much for sharing a. It sounds like a cherished memory, a memory that meant a lot to you, so that you would want to go visit over and over and over again. So that's fabulous. Well, and Jimmy, thank you so much for being on the program and inspiring us, and knowing that what, we don't have to be like the stormtroopers on Star Wars. We are so different and unique, and that is very true. And that's a wonderful message to tell everybody. Is there anything else that you want to share with us before we end that we did not talk about?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, no.
Okay. And just let me go ahead and put your podcast on one more time. Crazy Fitness Guy. I absolutely love the name of that. You cannot forget it. Okay. So if you want to go and listen to Jimmy's podcast, it's Crazy Fitness Guy, and you won't regret it. So I appreciate you listening, and I will see everybody next time. Thank you. Bye bye.